What happens when a British prince walks into a live television studio expecting the royal treatment, only to discover that morning television has no time for entitlement? In just 38 seconds of heated exchange, one of the most shocking interviews in daytime television history spiraled from polite conversation into an explosive confrontation that left viewers across the nation absolutely stunned. This is the moment when Prince Harry faced off against beloved host Alison Hammond, and what started as a simple morning chat turned into a dramatic exit that nobody saw coming. The morning started like any other episode of This Morning. The lights were bright, the cameras were rolling, and Alison Hammond was ready to welcome her guest with her signature warmth and genuine charm. She had been preparing for this interview all week. Prince Harry was scheduled to discuss his latest charity initiative, a project focused on mental health awareness for young people. It was supposed to be straightforward, uplifting, and inspirational. The producers had briefed everyone on the talking points. The segment was planned down to the minute, and everything seemed perfectly set for a heartwarming conversation. When Prince Harry walked onto the set, something felt different. The energy was off. Instead of the relaxed, friendly demeanor viewers had come to expect from his public appearances, there was a stiffness in his walk, a tension in his shoulders. Alison stood up to greet him with her usual enthusiasm, her smile wide and welcoming. "Hello, hello! Welcome to the show," Alison said brightly, extending her hand for a handshake. "We are so happy to have you here this morning. How are you doing?" Harry shook her hand briefly, barely making eye contact. "Fine," he replied curtly. His tone was flat, almost dismissive. Alison, ever the professional, brushed off the cold response and gestured toward the chairs. "Brilliant. Please, have a seat. Get comfortable. Can we get you anything? Water, tea, coffee?" "I am fine," Harry said again, sitting down with an air of impatience. "Can we just start?" The crew exchanged glances. This was not the warm, personable prince they had expected. Alison took her seat, her smile never wavering, despite the uncomfortable start. She was determined to make this work. "Of course," she said gently. "Let us dive right in. You are here today to talk about your wonderful charity work, focusing on mental health for young people. This is such an important cause, and I know our viewers are really excited to hear about it. Tell us, what inspired you to focus on this particular area?" Harry shifted in his seat, looking slightly annoyed. "Well, I think it is quite obvious, is it not? Mental health is a crisis. Young people are struggling. Someone needs to do something about it." Alison nodded encouragingly. "Absolutely, and it is wonderful that you are stepping up. Can you tell us a bit more about the specific programs your charity is implementing? What kind of support are you offering to these young people?" "We are doing a lot of things," Harry said vaguely, waving his hand dismissively. "Workshops, counseling, outreach programs. The details are all on the website. People can look it up if they are interested." There was an awkward pause. Alison maintained her composure, though her expression showed a flicker of surprise. She was used to guests who were enthusiastic about their projects, eager to share details and inspire viewers. This was something else entirely. "Right," Alison said, trying to keep the conversation flowing. "Well, I am sure our viewers would love to hear it from you directly. You have such a unique platform and voice. When you talk about mental health, people listen. What would you say to a young person watching right now who might be struggling?" Harry sighed heavily, as if the question itself was exhausting him. "Look, I have been very open about my own struggles. I have talked about this countless times in interviews, in my book, in documentaries. If people are struggling, they should seek help. That is what professionals are for." Alison leaned forward slightly, her voice warm and genuine. "Of course, and you have been so brave in sharing your story. I think what people connect with is that personal touch, hearing from someone who has been through it. Is there anything else you would like to add? Anything personal you might want to share with our viewers today?" "Alison," Harry said, his tone turning sharp, I am here to promote the charity, not to bare my soul on daytime television again. I have given enough of myself to the public. I think people should focus on the work we are doing, not on me personally." The atmosphere in the studio shifted. Crew members looked at each other nervously. Alison, to her credit, did not flinch. She had interviewed hundreds of guests over her career, and she knew how to handle difficult personalities. "I completely understand," she said calmly. "And we absolutely want to focus on the charity. That is why you are here. But you know, our viewers, they connect with stories, with real experiences. That is what makes these conversations meaningful. They want to know they are not alone." "Then maybe you should have them on the show instead of me," Harry snapped. "I am not here to be your entertainment." Alison blinked, taken aback by the sudden hostility. The audience in the studio fell silent, sensing the tension crackling in the air. This was supposed to be a positive, uplifting segment. Instead, it was rapidly becoming uncomfortable. "I apologize if it came across that way," Alison said, her voice steady and professional. "That was not my intention at all. I have the utmost respect for you and the work you are doing. Lot Kale, I was simply trying to help our viewers understand the importance of this cause." "Do you?" Harry challenged, his eyes narrowing. "Do you really have respect for what I am doing? Or are you just going through the motions, asking me questions from a script someone else wrote, trying to get a soundbite for social media?" The accusation hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Alison straightened in her chair, her warmth giving way to something more firm, more resolute. She had tried to be accommodating, tried to make this work, but there was only so much disrespect she was willing to tolerate. "Actually," Alison said, her voice taking on a subtle edge while remaining professional, "I wrote these questions myself. I spent time researching your charity, learning about the programs, understanding the mission. I did that because I care about this issue, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to share something meaningful with our audience." Harry scoffed. "Right. I am sure you care deeply." "I do," Alison said firmly, "and I think our viewers deserve better than this." They tuned in this morning expecting to hear about how they can support young people struggling with mental health. They wanted to be inspired, to learn how they can make a difference. Instead, you are sitting here acting like this interview is beneath you. "Beneath me?" Harry repeated, his voice rising. "Are you seriously going to sit there and lecture me about how I should behave? Do you have any idea what I have been through? The scrutiny, the invasion of privacy, the constant pressure to perform for people like you?" "People like me?" Alison echoed, her eyebrows raised. "I am a journalist doing my job. I am trying to give you a platform to talk about something you claim to care about. But if you came here today just to be dismissive and rude, then maybe we should end this right now." The studio was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of the increasingly hostile exchange. Harry leaned back in his chair, his jaw tight, his eyes flashing with anger. "You know what?" he said coldly. "I think you are right. I should not have come here. This was a mistake. I thought this would be a respectful conversation, but clearly you have no understanding of what it is like to have your entire life dissected by the media." Alison shook her head slowly. "With all due respect, I am not dissecting your life. I asked you to talk about your charity. You are the one who made this personal." "Everything is personal when it comes to me," Harry shot back. "Every question, every comment, every look is scrutinized and twisted. You people never just let me be." "Then why did you agree to this interview?" Alison asked pointedly. "Why come on a morning talk show if you do not want to talk? Why promote a charity if you are not willing to engage with the people you are asking to support it?" Harry stood up abruptly. The microphone clipped to his jacket, making a sharp, crackling sound. "I do not have to explain myself to you," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "I came here as a courtesy, and this is how I am treated. Unbelievable." Alison remained seated, her expression calm, but her eyes showing clear disappointment. "You are absolutely right," she said evenly. "You do not have to explain yourself to me. But you do owe an explanation to the young people your charity is supposed to help. The people who were hoping to hear something meaningful today." That struck a nerve. Harry turned back to face her, his face flushed with anger. "Do not dare question my commitment to those young people. You have no idea what I have sacrificed, what I have given up to try and make a difference." "Then show them," Alison said, her voice rising slightly but still controlled. "Sit back down and show them. Talk to them. Inspire them. That is what you came here to do, is it not? Or are you going to walk away because someone asked you a question you did not like?" The challenge was clear. Harry stood there for a moment, visibly wrestling with his emotions. The crew held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. For a brief second, it looked like he might actually sit back down, might try to salvage what was left of the interview. But then his expression hardened again. "You know what the problem is with people like you," he said, his voice low and bitter. "You pretend to care. You pretend to be compassionate. But at the end of the day, you are just trying to get a story, trying to boost your ratings. You do not actually care about mental health or helping people. You just want to use me." Alison stood up slowly, her full height matching his energy. Her usual cheerful demeanor was gone, replaced by a steely professionalism that commanded respect. "That is incredibly unfair," she said, her voice firm. "I have been doing this job for years. On and I have always approached every guest with genuine respect and interest. I have shared my own struggles on this show, talked about my own challenges, because I believe in the power of honest conversation. But I will not stand here and be accused of exploitation by someone who agreed to come on this show knowing exactly what it was." "Then we have nothing more to discuss," Harry said dismissively, reaching up to remove his microphone. "Clearly not," Alison agreed, watching as he fumbled with the equipment. As Harry finally unclipped the microphone and placed it roughly on the chair, he looked at Alison one more time. "I expected better from you," he said coldly. Alison met his gaze without flinching. "Funny," she replied. "I was thinking the exact same thing about you." The silence that followed was deafening. Harry turned on his heel and began walking toward the studio exit. A producer rushed forward, trying to intercept him, trying to smooth things over, but he brushed past without a word. The heavy studio door swung open and then closed behind him with a resounding thud that echoed through the space. Alison stood there for a moment, taking a deep breath. The cameras were still rolling, capturing her stunned expression as she processed what had just happened. Then, with the grace and professionalism that had made her a beloved figure on British television, she turned to face the camera directly. "Well," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos that had just unfolded, "that was certainly unexpected. I want to apologize to everyone who tuned in, hoping to learn more about this important cause. Mental health matters, and it deserves to be discussed with respect and genuine care." She paused, collecting herself, then continued. "If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health issues, please reach out for help. There are resources available, people who care, organizations that want to support you. You are not alone." The director signaled to cut to a commercial break, and as soon as they were off air, the studio erupted into shocked conversation. Crew members gathered in small groups, replaying what they had just witnessed. The producers were already on their phones, fielding calls from network executives who had been watching the live broadcast. Alison sank back into her chair, removing her earpiece and rubbing her temples. A makeup artist rushed over to check on her, but she waved them away gently. "I am fine," she said quietly. "I am fine." But was she? In all her years of hosting, she had never had a guest walk out on her. She had interviewed politicians who disagreed with her, celebrities going through scandals, athletes dealing with controversy, and she had always managed to keep things professional, to find common ground, to create a space where honest conversation could happen. What had just happened felt different. It was not just a difficult interview. It was a complete breakdown of communication, a clash of expectations, a moment where two people could not find a way to connect, despite ostensibly being on the same side. The show producer approached her cautiously. "Allison, are you okay? That was intense." Allison looked up at him and nodded. "I am okay. I tried, I really tried to make it work." "We know," the producer said supportively. "Everyone saw that. You handled yourself with incredible grace. We are going to need to figure out how to address this when we come back from commercial, but you did nothing wrong." Allison took another deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. Social media was probably exploding. News outlets would be picking up the story within minutes. The clip of the confrontation would be shared thousands of times before the show even finished airing. But as she sat there, replaying the conversation in her mind, she realized she would not have done anything differently. She had been respectful, she had been professional, and when she had been attacked, she had stood her ground. She had not let herself be bullied or dismissed, and she had maintained her dignity throughout. The stage manager gave her the 30-second warning. Allison straightened her jacket, checked her hair in the monitor, and put her earpiece back in. Whatever happened next, she was ready to face it, head on. When they came back from the commercial break, Allison addressed the situation directly. "Welcome back," she said to the camera, her smile genuine but subdued. "As you saw, our planned interview took an unexpected turn. I want to be clear about something. This show has always been about open, honest, respectful conversation. We invite guests here to share their stories, their work, their passions, but respect goes both ways." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I have enormous respect for anyone who uses their platform to raise awareness about important issues like mental health. That work is vital, and it saves lives. But having a platform also comes with a responsibility to engage genuinely with the people you are asking to support your cause. Today did not go the way any of us expected," she continued, "but I hope it serves as a reminder that real change, real impact, comes from authentic connection. It comes from being willing to have difficult conversations, to be vulnerable, to meet people where they are." She shifted gears, her energy lifting slightly. "Now, we have a wonderful lineup of guests still to come this morning, including a brilliant chef who is going to show us how to make the most amazing chocolate cake, and a local hero who has been doing incredible work in their community. Stay with us." And just like that, the show moved on. But the moment itself, that heated exchange, those 38 seconds where tension erupted into full confrontation, would not be forgotten. It was a reminder that no amount of privilege or position exempts someone from basic courtesy and respect. Looking back at how it all unfolded, you could see the warning signs from the very beginning. The cold greeting, the dismissive answers, the refusal to engage in any meaningful way. Harry had come into that studio with walls up, expecting to be attacked, and in defending himself against a threat that did not exist, he created the very conflict he seemed to fear. Allison, on the other hand, had remained consistent throughout. She started warm and stayed professional. When met with hostility, she did not match it. When accused unfairly, she defended herself calmly. When challenged to compromise her standards, she held firm. She was the embodiment of grace under pressure. The contrast between the two could not have been more stark. One came seeking respect, but offering none. The other gave respect freely, and only demanded it when pushed to the breaking point. One saw the interview as a burden, an obligation, something to be endured. The other saw it as an opportunity, a chance to connect, a platform for meaningful dialogue. What made the moment so shocking was not just the confrontation itself, but the complete mismatch of expectations. Allison had prepared for a thoughtful conversation about mental health, about helping young people, about making a difference. Harry seemed to have arrived expecting hostility. prepared for battle, defensive before any real challenge had even been presented. When he accused her of not caring, of just wanting a soundbite, it revealed more about his own mindset than hers. He could not see past his own grievances to recognize genuine interest. He could not separate a kind question from perceived judgment. He had been interviewed so many times, been scrutinized so intensely, that he could no longer distinguish between friend and foe. And in that inability to see Alison for who she truly was, a warm, caring professional who genuinely wanted to help him share his message, he sabotaged the very thing he claimed to care about. He had a platform, an audience of millions, and a host who was willing to give him every opportunity to inspire people. And he threw it all away because he could not get past his own defensiveness. The irony was almost painful. Here was someone promoting mental health awareness, yet displaying a complete lack of emotional regulation. Someone talking about helping others connect while refusing to connect himself. Someone asking for compassion while showing none to the person trying to help him. But perhaps the most telling moment was that final exchange, when Harry said he expected better from Alison, and she threw it right back at him. In that moment, all pretense fell away. The truth was laid bare. He had come expecting deference, expecting to be handled with kid gloves, expecting that his status would shield him from any real engagement. Alison had expected a guest who was passionate about their cause, who was eager to connect with viewers, who understood that the privilege of having a platform comes with the responsibility of using it well. They were both disappointed, but only one of them had any right to be. As Harry walked out of that studio, his microphone discarded, dignity bruised, he left behind more than just an awkward television moment. He left behind an opportunity squandered, goodwill wasted, and a crystal clear demonstration that sometimes the biggest obstacles to progress are the ones we create ourselves. Alison, standing there in the aftermath, showed what real strength looks like. Not in walking away from difficulty, but in facing it head on. Not in making excuses, but in taking responsibility. Not in demanding respect, but in earning it through every word and action. The studio door had closed behind Prince Harry with such finality, such force, that it seemed to punctuate everything that had just transpired. That sound, that moment, became the defining image of an interview gone catastrophically wrong. What started as a simple morning television appearance, a routine promotional interview, had transformed into something much more significant. It became a lesson in the importance of humility, a demonstration of how entitlement can poison even the best intentions, and a reminder that respect is not something owed to anyone based on their birth or status. It is something earned through how you treat others. Alison Hammond had handled an impossible situation with remarkable poise. She had been pushed, provoked, and insulted, yet she never lost her composure. She never stooped to his level. She maintained her professionalism, even when it would have been so easy to fight fire with fire. And that, ultimately, is what made this moment so powerful. It was not just about a guest walking out. It was about a host standing up. Standing up for herself, for her profession, for the standards of decency that should govern how we interact with one another, regardless of title or position. The door closing behind him was not just the end of an interview. It was the end of any pretense that status alone commands respect. This was the 38 seconds that revealed everything. This was the moment a prince learned that character matters more than crowns. And this was the day Alison Hammond showed the world exactly what it means to be a true professional.